everyone, I'm Ritika, and today we are going to move through a mobilizing and strengthening sequence that's going to complement our vinyasa practice. So let's begin. Let's move into child's pose, taking the knees as wide as you like, hips towards the heels and arms extending forward. And becoming mindful of the breath here, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. And fully coming into the present moment. And waking up all your senses. Now begins the practice of yoga. Athaha Yoga Anushasanam. As you move through the practice today, I invite you to keep coming back to your breath, breathing at your own pace, honoring your body. Great. Then press into the hands. Come on to hands and knees, hands right under the shoulders and knees under the hips. We're going to start with warming up our wrists and our forearms, and we're going to do something called finger tapping. So we're going to take the hips back towards the heels and begin by tapping our thumbs. So find a nice rhythm and then slowly shifting the weight forward, you will notice that the movement in the thumbs decreases. We don't want to move too far in front that the thumbs stop moving. We want to keep some movement and stop wherever you can feel some tension, like this is work, this should feel like work. And then moving back, and notice how the movement in the thumb increases, and then stop. Moving with the index finger. It's so great at tapping when there's no load, and then when we increase the load, it's harder for it to tap. And you will also notice how the palm of the hand, the back of the hand, and even the forearm is doing so much work for that tapping to take place. Leaning back and stop. Middle finger. Leaning forward. Stop wherever there's a good amount of tension in there. And then leaning back. And then this is the hardest one for me, the ring finger. Maybe that's as far as I can go today. So we want some tapping. It's horrible. We want to keep pressing in through all the other fingers. And then, oh, I'm glad it's over. And then the little finger. Tap, tap, tap. Stopping just short of the finger not moving. It's a lot of concentration for sure. You need to concentrate, you need to get that finger tapping. Great. And then as you lean forward, lift the fingers off the mat. So the heel of that hand is still pressing in, but you're lifting the fingers away towards the forearm. So again, we're burning that angle between the forearm and the wrist. And then as you lean back, keep that angle. So you're really actively moving the fingers towards the forearm. Leaning forward, keeping that angle. Whew. And then leaning back. Let's do that one more time. Keep pulling those fingers towards the forearm. Lean forward. Lean back. And then just come to sit on your heels. Feel free to bring a block under your heels. I'm sorry if I forgot to mention that before. Grab 2 blocks and ideally practice by a wall. Sorry. Take your hands and bring the backs of the hands down. So the palms are facing up. And then make fists with both hands. So the fingers are pointing inward towards each other. And you're making fists here to stretch the back of the hand, the forearm. Elbows are ideally straight, but they can be bent if that feels better. One more fist, and then release. Great. We're now going to move into some shoulder rotations. So, shoulder rotations are great to warm up the shoulders, to find overhead range. So ideally practicing this by a wall is great, especially if you want that additional difficulty of keeping that hand within the range and not flaying it out too far away from the body. But you feel free to practice as far away from the wall as you need to today. So first, finding external rotation through the arm, the thumb is pointing outward, moving the arm up, and then at some point it's going to stop moving, and then finding internal rotation through the shoulder and bringing it back down. Externally rotating, moving the arm up, back, and down. 2 more. And feel free to take that left hand on your torso just to notice if there's too much twisting through the upper body. Because we don't want this action to be happening through the torso. We want this to be isolated through the shoulder. And then changing directions. Obviously, I forgot count, so do as many as you like. And on this side as well, finding internal rotation and then moving through external. So, and then on the other side, using the wall here, but maybe not too close because my left side, my body definitely likes to twist. So we're going to keep that action of rotation isolated through the shoulder. So thumb pointing out and then moving in. Starting with the thumb pointing out towards the wall and then moving in. One more time. And then reversing, so the thumb's pointing in and then it rotates out. Great. 2 more. Great. Come back to hands and knees. Now that our wrists are warmed up and our shoulders are warmed up, we can move into some spinal articulation. So moving into our cat-cow, letting the pelvis lead this movement. So as the pelvis tips forward, the lower back arches, the mid back, and then the upper back, and the head moves up. And then the pelvis tips back, rounding through the lower back, the mid back, and the upper back. So really slowing down this movement, starting from the tailbone, the pelvis, and then all the way up. And then rounding. Inhale to arch, starting at the pelvis, being mindful of that. Exhale to round. One more time. Inhale to arch. And exhale to round. Great. Come to a long spine, so we're not arching or rounding too much here. Finding your own neutral. And then tuck the toes. Finding external rotation through the shoulders here so that the shoulder creases are moving forward. Lifting the knees an inch off the floor or a couple of inches. Staying here for 2 breaths. And then sending the hips back, pressing into the hands. Letting the head go. Lengthening through the spine here. Taking a couple of breaths. Maybe straightening the legs. And noticing the sensation in the backs of the legs, the angle between the ankle and the shin. and walking to the front of the mat. And just letting go, shaking the head, holding on to opposite elbows, keeping the knees bent. Great. So we're going to slowly roll all the way up now, articulating the spine vertebrae by vertebrae. Keep the knees bent, let the arms be heavy, and slowly, mindfully roll all the way up. And once you reach the top, keep your eyes lightly closed. And just finding balance, finding grounding through the feet. Perhaps lifting the toes up, spreading them out and setting them down. And taking a few breaths here. Feeling supported. Lovely. Now we're going to warm up our feet. So we're going to lift the toes up again, really spread them out wide, and then set them down. One more time. Lift the toes up, spread them wide, set them down. Lift the toes up this time, spread them, set them down, and then lift the heel up. Set it down. Lift the toes up, set it down, lift the heel up. Set it down. Toes, down, heels up, down. Toes. So feel free to use anything you have for support here. A wall is great. Toes up, down, heel up, down. And just alternate that a few times. And notice how all the muscles in the leg get activated, get engaged. You'll feel the knees pulling up. The calf muscles are all awake. The feet have so much to do with how we carry ourselves. So we've got to warm them up. Great. And then set the toes down. Now we're going to work on our feet some more. And we're going to work on the angles of our feet flexion actively. So taking that left foot back, the toes on both feet are pointing forward, and we're going to actively bend into the right leg. The right knee is flexing. The back leg might bend a little bit as well. So as we move into that knee flexion, that bended knee on the right side, we're pulling the toes towards the shins. So the toes actually might lift as well. So not only are we working on bending the front knee, but we're also working on that dorsiflexion of the ankle. And guess what? It's also happening in the back leg. So the toes on the back foot are also trying to lift up. You can take your hands to your waist and explore different angles with the knee. So perhaps the knee goes out to the left a little bit, it goes out to the right a little bit. Keep pulling the toes up. There's a lot happening in this movement. We're exploring angles with the knee that are perhaps not 90 degrees. And we're also actively finding flexion through the ankle. Great. Bring the left foot back. Whew, that's a lot of work. Send that right leg back this time. So the legs are not too far away from each other and the toes are pointing forward. Then actively bend into that left knee this time. And the right knee is soft as well. And again, exploring different angles with that left knee. And actively pulling the toes on both feet up towards the shins. Moving in and out. One more time. Moving a little bit to the right, to the left. These movements are what will help us get better at squats, getting up from the floor unaided. Awesome. And then bring both feet together. Shake it off. Shake both legs out. Do anything that you need to. Great. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, bend the knees and fold forward. Inhale, take your hands to the shins, lengthen through the spine, and exhale to fold. Inhale, press into the feet, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. We have to do a spinal articulation going down. So taking the chin towards the chest, rounding through the shoulders. And then slowly rounding through the mid-back and the lower back. Keep the knees soft. Take your time. And as you reach down, bring your hands on the floor. Come on to all fours. Set yourself up, hands under shoulders. And then sending the right leg back and the left leg back, come into plank. So again, finding the creases of the elbows facing forward. Finding pulling action. So you're actually pulling the hands back like that. And you're pulling the feet towards the hands. So you'll find a lot of activation through that midline, through the torso. And then bring the knees down. And come all the way down. Come on to the tops of the feet. Press into the tops of the feet really actively. Bring the arms forward. And then pull the arms back. So there's a lot of activation here. We're pulling the arms back really strongly, and so the shoulder blades are moving towards each other. Press into the hands here. Come into baby cobra. Lower down. Arms reach forward. Pull the arms back. The shoulders are lifting up. Hands by the ribs. Press into the hands. Cobra. Lower down. Press into the hands. Come onto the knees. Tuck the toes. Lift the hips up. Downward facing dog. So pressing into the hands. Notice this time how the feet feel, how the heels feel in the down dog. Perhaps the ankles feel better. And you can also use that same movement of pulling the toes up and towards the shins here. Actively flexing the ankles. And walking all the way forward. Hands to shins. Inhale to lengthen the spine. Exhale to fold. Bend your knees. Hinging at the hips, coming all the way up. Arms reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, bend your knees. Hinge at the hips, come down. Inhale, hands to the shins, long spine. Exhale, hands back down, moving into plank any way you like. Finding a strong plank here. Finding that activation again. Hands pulling towards the feet and feet pulling towards the hands. Bend your knees to the ground and then come all the way down. Coming onto the tops of the feet. Arms reach forward. Ooh. Finding pulling action again. Using that action to move the shoulder blades towards each other, away from the floor. Press your hands into the floor. Baby cobra. Lower down. Press into the hands. Come onto the knees. And downward facing dog. Finding that active down dog. externally rotating through the arms, letting the head be relaxed, bending the knees here, finding extension through the spine, and then straightening the legs. Notice where the mind goes when it tries something new, when things are not predictable. And then walk to the front of the mat. Take your hands to the shins. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale to fold. Press into the feet, come all the way up. Arms reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, bend the knees and fold. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, bring the hands down. And then just come to sit down on your mat. Great. Let's bring the legs out in front and take our blocks with us. So we'll take one block right under the hips to help us sit upright. And then one block at the lowest or the medium height is going to go on the outside of that right leg. We're now going to work on strengthening our hip flexors. Hip flexors help us move, sit, stand. Really, they take us everywhere. So let's strengthen both our legs, and then taking the right leg up and back down on the side, and then bringing it back. So again, do whatever you need to with your hands. We're just focusing on keeping our spine long, finding containment through the abs, and really most of the work is happening right here. So take your hands to the sides of your hips and notice how this bit gets really strong and tense when you're lifting that leg up and taking it on the other side. And you don't even need a block for this really. You can just move your leg out and then lift it and bring it back in. Lift it, bring it back out. Lift it as high as you can go and bring back in. Let's do that 2 more times. So leg lifts and bring it out and bring it back in. Out and back in. Out one more time and back in. Let's do that on the left side. So we'll start with the block. Bring it out and back in. And if you really wanted to take the difficulty level up a notch, you can take it on the highest height. Ooh, that's intense. Let's just stay here. Out. And cramping is good. So my left side will always cramp, and that's just because it needs to do more work. So if you do feel a cramp, just shake it out, massage it, pat it, whatever you need, and then come back to that move. One more time. All right. And then just rest. So now that we've warmed up our hip flexors and we're ready to take on the day, let's come to lie down on our sides. So let's lie on the left side first. You can take your hand and let it support your head like so, or you can just rest your head on the floor on your upper arm. Taking your legs in a 90-degree angle, so the knees and then the ankles are in the same line. Hugging that right knee into the chest, moving that right knee out, up towards the ceiling, out in front of the room, and then back in. Knee moves up, in front, and then inwards. 2. Now we're just lubricating this joint, finding controlled movement, waking up all the muscles here. About 5 on one side, and then repeat. And then moving to the other side, I'm just going to Do that. So again, the knees and the ankles are in the same line. Hugging the left knee into the chest, moving the left knee up, in front, and then back in. Trying to keep the rest of your body unmoving and unchanging. And one more on this side. I hope you're keeping your own count. About 5. And then changing directions. Moves out. My left side just gets super confused. That's just because it needs to do more of this. So all of these controlled rotations really bring awareness into those parts of the body. And it allows our nervous system to learn more about movement. Great. And then just rest both knees together. Come onto your back. And we're going to prepare for Shavasana now. So feel free to take your own rest the way you like. You can take blocks under your knees. You can also keep your knees up like this. Feel free to also take Shavasana by sitting down, keeping your eyes open to whatever you need to. And then just for the next few breaths, allowing the body to completely relax. Making the body feel comfortable and safe in any which way you need to, so it can release tension. Sthiram Sukham Asanam. The ideal posture is one with awareness. One that is stable and pleasing, comforting. Giving your body what it needs today. And slowly bringing awareness back, wiggling your fingers and toes. If you have space, taking the arms overhead and giving yourself a nice stretch. And then turning to one side. Coming to sit in a comfortable cross-leg position. Hands to heart. Thank you for practicing today, for showing your body love and respect. I'm going to chant one Om on the next inhale. Feel free to join or listen. Om. Namaste.